But yeah, though. So I'm gonna continue with the story, because this whole thing is like a story, right? The way our ancestors dealt with time and history is we didn't have like a written down culture, because when you write things down, it basically starts cementing things in reality, right? We dealt with like a spoken language, right? Like an oral tradition, So we didn't like talk about history as if it was fact. Like, we dealt with mythology, because mythology it's not myth. Mythology is actually like parts of your subconscious mind that continually like interact with each other like throughout your whole existence, right? So mythology isn't like stories. And that's why, like, when I was younger, I used to really be into like Percy Jackson and Harry Potter and stuff like that. And I didn't like really understand why I was into this stuff, but it was just like interesting and like fun, and like it just seemed like something that I should be into, right? But like, it wasn't until I started getting older and I started stumbling across certain things and realizing certain things, I started to figure out, oh, this is why I was drawn to it, right? So mythology, like, is really talking about, it's not just how history, like I said, it cements things. So like when you write it, it basically creates like boxes and boundaries around energy, to where now that is like a cemented experience, right? But mythology is like a more fluid, like recollection of events that allows you to interpret it in your own way. So while history and like writing things down, it makes it to where like now that is something that has to be experienced that way only, mythology is something that is kind of open to interpretation, and like basically your interpretation of it would be what makes it what it is. So the older that you grow and the more wisdom and stuff that you gain, like your understanding of mythology would change, and that would also change your understanding of yourself, and it will also change your understanding of reality, right? So you have to get into mythology if you really want to understand the world, and if you want to understand yourself, and if you want to understand like what's going on right now, right? Because right now we're leaving the age of Pisces and entering the age of Aquarius, right? And this is something that like a lot of people have been talking about for a while, but I don't think as many people who understand what that means. And the thing about like us being humans is we're not supposed to understand everything, and that's where like we get confused, or we also like cause problems sometimes, is we always want to understand everything and be on top of everything and be like, yeah, I know that, and I know this, and this is how it's supposed to be, and it can't be no other way, and it gotta be like that. And we do that because we're scared, right? We want to we want to know things, we want to be sure, so that we don't have fear. But fear is an initiation, because when you can go into your fear and you go into your doubts and you go into the darkness, that's where you actually are able to learn more, right? So right now, in terms of astrology, Saturn is about to enter Aries, and Neptune is also about to enter Aries, right? So when we say we're leaving the age of Pisces, it's not only on a like mythological, like metaphysical level, it's also like we actually are leaving Piscean energy, right? And it's a lot of aspects to Pisces. Like you got the collective, because this is all a dream, right? A dream within a dream within a dream, on some Inception type stuff, right? So, I was when they say roll your boat gently down the stream. Verily, 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 life is but a dream. You see what I'm saying? But so Pisces deals with the collective dream. So it's like what we all understand to be reality is what reality becomes. So that's why I was talking about like mythology versus history, right? Because if our history has been told to us in a certain way, then we like configure and create our minds in a certain way that makes it be like, okay, if that happened back then that means this has to happen now, right? But if you start getting into mythology and your mind starts changing and it starts becoming more fluid, you start realizing like, maybe that didn't happen. And you start opening up your imagination and your like higher mind to the understanding that reality may not be as simple as you thought it was, right? So Pisces also deals with imagination, and Neptune as well, right? Neptune is the planet that Pisces is associated with, right? Pisces deals with religion. It deals with belief systems. It deals with spirituality. It deals with manipulation. It deals with lies, with fantasy. It deals with, so like, even all this stuff that's going on with like Hollywood and like the government and magic, and people starting to realize like what's been going on and why certain people have been in power and stuff like that. All of that is us coming out of the age of Pisces and like coming out of the collective dream and coming into the awareness and knowing that, oh wait, we were sleeping, like we weren't in our power, right? So us entering Aries got to deal with everyone starting to realize their own individual power. So right now, something I've been like realizing recently is like, when you really come out of the dream for real, your perception of everything's gonna change, right? So time isn't linear, and people say that, but it's different to say that and then to actually understand like what time is for you, because everybody got their own individual time cycle within a bigger cycle, within a bigger cycle, within a bigger cycle. Like it's like a wave in the ocean, right? So lately I've been realizing like, okay, this is what I'm gonna say, right? So planets like Saturn and Neptune, those are like extremely slow moving planets that have like really big long cycles. So for our generation, my generation, these planets like were where they were at even before we came into existence. And the fact that we're alive now and the time where they're shifting to a new sign means that we have like a lot of the stuff that we're going through is not even necessarily in our cycle. Like we're cleaning up stuff from past cycles. And that's why like mythology is important, because like in mythology a lot of times they talk about like the gods warring with the titans, and then the celestials, like all this shit, like even Marvel and talking about the celestials and like Guardians, bro, all that shit is like, I don't want to say it's real, because it's not real in what you consider real to be, but it's real, right? In your mind, which is reality. So like it's certain parts of us, our minds, that are awakening right now that are older. But the way time works, a lot of times older is younger, because this shit is a cycle, right? So like, it even deals with the fact that a lot of us have older souls even though we're younger. Because it's funny, that's the way time works. Like when you have children, your children are older than you. And that's why you have children, because they complete like a certain part of the story that you can't complete, because you have to like be recycled back into the source, right? So, but you teach them what came before, so that now they have an understanding of what came before, so that they can move forward. But if what you were teaching them was based off of something that was locking you in a cycle, then they weren't able to move forward. They were trapped in a thing, right? In a loop. But once they really start realizing like who they are, then they could like escape from the loop, right? So you gotta become like completely yourself for real. Like, and I'm not talking about yourself based off of your programming and all that. I'm talking about like who you really are. And there's some stuff where like you're gonna have to remove yourself from certain places and people, and not like permanently, but I just mean like energetically. Like you gotta like all the stuff that you feel like is weird about you, that you feel like you don't want people to know, or all like, bro, just really start being cool with completely being yourself. Because when you start doing this, like, and like a lot of the stuff that you maybe liked as a kid, that like you felt weird or you felt out of place, like just start being yourself. Like just being like, start being cool with that. Because you're gonna start to remember certain things, and certain things are gonna come online to you, and just you existing in those versions of yourself is gonna change reality. Because this thing being like us all being in water, like we're all underwater right now, when you start resonating at a certain frequency and you start rippling out, those ripples like touch other people. And even if people don't consciously get the ripples that you're sending, just you energetically having that ripple, it affects everything. So like when your ripples start rippling a certain way, other people are gonna receive those ripples, and they're gonna be like, oh wait, this ripple makes me think of this, and they're gonna start rippling a certain way. And then like the rhythm, like the whole tide of this whole ocean is gonna start changing, you know? So it's like, even being in the forest right now, like these trees, some of them could be hundreds of years old, like, and we don't know who planted them. And they might have been here since, like, this forest might have been here since the beginning of whenever this civilization was, right? But it's still here. And there's roots underneath, right? So if you know about trees, you know this tree right here, its roots communicate with the tree all the way over there, like all the way over there. Even though it doesn't like see or isn't near that tree, it still knows who that tree is and what that tree's role is, and like all types of information, right? But all of that is beneath the surface. You don't see it with your physical eyes. It's all unconscious, right? And that's how this reality thing works. So it's like a lot of information that we need to know is not necessarily something that has to be written or that even has to be spoken on. It's just, once it's discovered, it's understood, you know? And it already starts affecting things. But yeah, though, love.